Hello.
Flirty Friday.
Flirty Friday. And today we decided to do a little bit different than we've been doing because we've been picking off of a list of 50 topics to do with love, and we've decided that we wanted to kind of throw our own into the mix to just change it up a bit. So, what's the topic that we decided to go with?
Never stop dating.
Never stop dating.
Ooh, that's gonna make people go, what?
Yeah, and I like what you had said before we started recording, when you said it's not about, like, what does that mean? And it's like, it's not about setting aside time for date nights, although that is like,
Oh, that's good.
it's good, but that's not what we're talking about.
No, we're talking about. I'm eating popcorn while we're doing a podcast. That's bad.
Who gives a shit? I'm gonna drink some coffee.
It's about. Well, I saw another man who I should give credit to, but I can't remember his name. Who said in your relationship you should never stop dating each other, because then you give up, you get complacent, and you become more like roommates. So even if you're not living together, it's the same idea though. If you are with someone longer,
Mm-hmm.
we're not saying never stop dating as in don't get committed and keep dating. That's not what this topic is about.
Yeah.
Keeping the energy of dating, how you treat each other. So when you date someone, you pursue them and you show your romantic side. If you're only showing your false side, well, then you're an asshole and we're not talking to you. But we're talking about your real, like you're pursuing, like we're talking about as women, how we dress up for dates, how we, and I'm not saying you have to dress to the nines all the time, but once in a while you need to, if you want to keep on dating, you've got to dress with what he likes and what gets his libido going and what, I don't know, don't stop dating.
It's true. It's true. Like, I know we've kind of already touched on the topic of dressing to please your man, right? And I think that's cool, but this goes a little bit bigger than that. So, like, for instance, for instance, I have no point. No, totally what you just said. Like, I always tell people when I first, okay, so here's a little bit about me. I've had a few boyfriends in my lifetime, and by a few, I mean more than a few. And it's like, I think that I lose interest in people, or, maybe that's not the way to put it, but you lose that bit of spark when both parties or one party stops putting in interest and effort. And if you let that go and you let that slide, it's really hard to get back. It's really hard to get back. And it's sad because it's like, you want somebody to want to, like, impress you. It goes both ways. You want somebody to want to impress you and to, like, get themselves in shape, keep themselves in shape, take care of the way they look, maybe like put on a nice scent that they know you might like or find appealing, one way or the other. Guys, girls, do their hair for you. As if you're a woman, like, make yourself up a little bit. Not like you have to do these things, but like, what did you do to impress this person when you met them, right? How did you guys attract each other? And, like, has that slid too far?
Yeah. And if you don't have anyone, this still is going to go before you put in an effort when you're trying to date. Just gonna say, men notice.
Men notice.
And women notice.
Yeah, everyone notices, for real.
Yeah, if you're a man listening to this, I guess I'm saying that too. We speak from the perspective. And here, you want to know something? It's a study, actually. It's a scientific study. And so if you say you can't wear it, well, that's up to you. But men prefer red lipstick. It's actually been studied at universities. So
there you go.
Not just me dressing slutty, even though I like to do that too. And also, It's a thing. So when we say I keep on dating, also, have you thought about, so I find women do this, and at the not at the beginning you wouldn't know, but as you go in, have you found out what your man likes? What if you're always wearing shoes he doesn't like, or you find out he doesn't like red lips? Good luck. But you find out he doesn't like brown lipstick, or like, and I'm not saying you have to change everything, or you find out he really loves sundresses and you didn't know that, and you're like, have you actually had that conversation? That to me is dating. I want to know about you. What do you like? And then don't just ask it at year 1 and then remember to ask it at year 10, like,
Yeah.
or even month 6. Like, what does he, have you taken suggestions? Well, no one's going to tell me how to dress. Well, then date yourself.
Yeah. Date yourself. And that can be fun too. But that's not what we're talking about.
What we're talking about. So here's a personal example who I loves shoes, but has a very particular type, then has a very view on how he likes his shoes. And I don't see him every day, so I have other shoes I wear that he doesn't like that I wear those days. But if I'm going out to buy a pair of shoes, I want his opinion on what he likes, because you better believe I'm showing up next date day in those shoes if we found them, because that is hot for him, because he knows you've listened. That in itself is hot. And you've put in an effort not just to look hot, but you put in an effort to arouse them in the way they want to be aroused, right?
Yes, it's true. Totally. And you know what? I find that even if like my boyfriend, so your boyfriend has a very specific pair of shoes that he likes, I'm sure my guy does too. I know he does. But I think just the idea of somebody making themselves look beautiful for you is what turns people on, right? Like, think about it. But isn't it nice to know? Wouldn't it be nice to know your man comes and like, it's like, wow, you look really good today. And it's like, yeah, I thought you might like this. Or, it's like, that's very appealing.
It's very appealing. And I do get, well, don't buy shoes just for me. I'm like, yeah, but I like what you like. And I might not have thought that, but if I know you really like it, or I'm going to put on a pair of pantyhose, and I have made the effort to find out that you think a certain type of fishnet stocking is super hot, I'm not going to go pick the ones anyways. I just think it's, have you had those conversations with them? And you know what? There might be people that are like, I don't care. But do they, then again, is that magical? Have they thought about it? Really? You don't care? So if I was going to wear this or this, you wouldn't care? Well, no, I really kind of love leather or whatever. Who knows, right?
Yeah. I think even like all of that aside, like the specifics of it, I think the main point we're trying to make is like, take a look at relationships that go on, right? Like, Tony, you and I know relationships get stale after a little while because people lose that effort and lose that desire to put in effort and lose the desire to impress. And I think the reason why is because you become very comfortable with a person, and I don't know, it could almost be like you become so comfortable with somebody that if you started to put in effort again, it would be like, this is a little weird, right? Yeah.
And you
So
should. Don't think you can't. It's just going to get
yes,
harder, but do it. You'll do it.
do it, and do it confidently too.
Throw some red lipstick on if you haven't for the last 5 years, and you watch. They'll be like, whoa. At first, they
That's
might ask
right.
what you're dressing for. Just make sure they know it's for them.
That's right. That's right. Because I've been in relationships where, actually, almost all of my relationships, guys notice that stuff, right? They notice when you do it and they notice when you don't do it. So, and then when you do it elsewhere, like if you're going out and you get done up really nice, but you don't do it when you're with your partner, it's like they notice that stuff. And then you have to question why you're not doing it anymore. And that's a whole nother kettle of fish, but
That's a whole relationship thing. But if you're just dressing up with your girlfriend, but not for your man, because
yeah,
care if I wear sweatshirt, he probably doesn't. Mine does, but he probably doesn't because he's used to that. But he's still. I'm sorry that they notice when you put in effort, and we're just talking clothes. It's other things too. I noticed I don't want him to change his whole look. But if I say something like suspenders are hot, and then I show up and the jacket gets whiffed off and there's suspenders there, I'm like, oh, like that makes me feel like I'm being dated, right?
Exactly.
Or you know what, I really don't like playing video games with new people and I'm shitty at it, and then the next thing you know there's a co-op game that he's struggling through because I'm shitty but willing to try it for me. Those are kind of things keep, and I am still dating, but a year later you can get complacent, right?
You can. It's
I don't, and I'm not talking about anything being perfect. We're not talking about the dynamics of relationships. We're talking about you are also part of losing the fire. And I think maybe sometimes because drama comes in and you know more about them and the way they put the toothpaste on bugs you. But what if you stay in that dating thing? What if you stay in that realm of, ooh,
I know.
that toothpaste did not bug you a year ago or when you
Yeah.
were dating?
I know. It's funny we're talking about this because I was just thinking about this, right? Like in my own relationship and in every relationship I've been in and in other people's relationships. And it's like, what makes a person get annoyed with another person with things that they didn't get annoyed with before, right? And it's like when you first meet somebody, you're so enamored with them. It's like anything they do is like, who cares? It's amazing. It's like, I didn't shave my legs today. It's like, I love your hairy legs. It's like eventually they stop loving those hairy legs, right? And it's like, okay, well, why? And is it like, I think that's where it's juicy because it's like, well, have you stopped putting in effort or something like that? Like where is there like the lack of the that juicy connection happening where it's like everything you do is magical.
And then you can start testing. Don't go to, well, they don't, so I won't. Okay, you try. You put in all that effort and then they don't do anything and you've had a conversation around it, well then that's another topic for next Friday. But if I would challenge you to try for a while and don't expect the first time, and that's what women will do. I'm going to call us out as women. You try once like that, you haven't been doing it, you're just, you didn't even notice that I had blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my gosh, well, did you do that on your second date? Did you do that on your dating thing?
Nagging. Yeah.
Stop it.
Fuck.
Stop it. Just be sexy. Just be flirty. Just go on a date. I don't know.
It's true.
You gave them a back rub? When's the last time you made their favorite meal?
It's true. And also, this even take away the physical acts like that. I think a lot of women, again, I talked to somebody about this recently. It's like you start off really cool and confident to a certain degree, and then that you attract somebody and they're like totally enamored with you because of that, because of who you are naturally. And then when you like sync up with a person, it's almost like you like become a little bit insecure about yourself, right? Like there's something that happens there. And it's like, if you find that that's happened where you're like becoming naggy, you're becoming a bit insecure, you're becoming lacking effort or being like what you just said, where it's like, well, I'll do it if he does it or that kind of stuff, then maybe like question, what in you has changed and like, can you bring yourself back to the spirit that you were when somebody first met you? My one friend and I, we call it being cool. It's like cool Kimberly. It's like, can you bring cool Kimberly back? And it's like, yeah, I fucking can. And I'm going to do it. You have to consciously make that effort though.
Consciously make that effort. Men like to be flirted with. So are you flirting? Women like to be flirted with. Are you flirting?
Exactly.
Whoever you are, make it like, what did you compliment on them on before? And sometimes it's the dumbest things, and maybe that's what happens. It's like, oh, you made supper for me, right? And now you're like, well, you fucking well better make supper for me. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Even if that's the case, that energy, go listen to Magical Mondays, that energy exudes, right? So if I want this energy of flirty, and am I shooting it out?
Yeah, it goes two ways, right?
Yeah, like don't stop dating. There should always be, maybe what we think too is that we know the person. And I want to challenge you all that you never know the person. I don't care if you've been with them 30 years. There's always a piece of us we keep to ourselves. So are you engaging with that person? Are you trying to find out their magic? We all change a little bit too. And so you're now living almost with the person that you've been with, even if it's a year.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't trusted that maybe there's parts of them that want to come up. What if they want to flirt in a whole new direction? What if they want to tie you up? And oh, that's a whole nother topic.
It doesn't have to be though. Like,
Right? And you haven't had that conversation because you aren't dating anymore. So they don't even think they can bring that in.
I
That's like,
know.
oh,
And that's also the tricky part of replacing that cool and that fun and that like effort with nagging and shit like that. Because if you nag somebody, it's usually the women doing the nagging, but I've seen it go the other way. So have I ever? But no, it's usually the women. It's usually the women. My ex, it's like he's probably listening. He isn't. It's like, yeah, you nagging bastard. Anyway, but it's usually the women, and it's like if you find yourself nagging in your relationship, which fuck, we all do it. I do it too. It's like you're building up walls between people with that nagging because it's almost like they have to maneuver around now, right? And there's no room within that to get really sexy and hot and carefree and adventurous in that loving way. So, yeah,
I don't nag. I can say that.
really good for you. Maybe you don't have Virgo in your chart. You don't.
I don't nag at all. You know what I catch myself doing? And I notice women do this more than men. Sorry, women. We have fucking opinions on everything. Like I just watched, it was on a show even, and what did they do? Oh, I don't know, they were doing something, and then she's like, watch the car, do this, or you should wear that. And I'll catch myself doing that. Like, well, maybe you should do this. And I'm like, you are a grown fucking man.
Don't, Tony, I think that's like thinly veiled nagging.
It is. But
It is.
I catch myself, right? Because and I've done this with my kids as a mother too. I've even, but this is what you can, I stop and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. That statement I just said about what you go do what you need to do for you, and I will just support you as me. If you want my opinion on anything, you ask for it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I take back my unsolicited opinion. You don't need it.
it's
You
true.
do not need it.
I
What if
mean,
you want your flashy socks and they put them on for you and you're like, those don't match?
I know, totally. Like anyone who knows my boyfriend, he's a character. Like, and I shouldn't even say he's a character. He presents as a character, like very colorful, does his own thing, right? Completely different than everybody else. And it's like, I want this guy to be himself completely. That's why I love him. That's part of why I love him. And I think it's been such a fun exercise in celebrating somebody else doing their thing completely and not being like, oh, I can't believe you would wear that. You know what I mean? I don't even feel that way because I never bring it up and I never go there. So I don't create more of it. Do you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's like dropping the opinions, dropping the nagging about it.
And catch yourself, because we'll do it. Like I don't nag, but I'll catch myself, and you're right, thinly veiled, but things like, because we're human, right? It'll be like, so shouldn't we drive there? I haven't fucking lived in the 604 for more than 11 months with someone that's lived in it for 46 years. Do you actually think I know how to get someone better than they do?
I know. I know.
But you can then it can be funny, and it's
Again,
still a date. It can be like, whoa, I just inserted my opinion where it didn't need to go, or my idea, and then it's laughable. Instead, we forget to date. And I say, if you thought about that, men too, though, if you catch her doing that on a date, you wouldn't have been as annoyed as when she told you then. So just watch both sides.
mm-hmm.
I think if you're in pursue or flirt, or I want you to see the best of me, then, and I'm not saying hide the worst of you, but if you are in that mode, you will also be in a better mode for yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And
You're
yeah,
not just doing it for them. I get that, but it makes your, like, I have this certain business partner who would say it makes your relationship more juicy.
it does. It makes your life more juicy and it makes your relationships, all of them, more juicy.
Yeah. So get curious about your partner, and don't stop dating. Don't stop dating them.
And you know what? My boyfriend and I have a good talk. I know we're over, but I want to just say, like, we talk about this a lot actually. And it's like, when we first met, we're different people now. And that's inevitable. And I get it. But that doesn't mean you have to do the exact same things and have the exact same approach as when you first met. Just can you keep that dating process alive, especially somebody like me, because I'm so drawn to that energy that of two people coming together initially, and like that like excitement. Most people are, I would say. But that's my problem, is like when the effort goes away, or when the romance, the effort, the whatever,
The
you know,
non-dating
then
personality.
exactly. It's like, well, then I'm like, I don't know, now I'm just with a buddy, right?
But then that's a good way to know. If you put that effort back in, if someone does and you try it and then you start talking about it eventually and they never do, then we will talk about this whole other dynamic of where your relationship's at. But have you actually tried that? Have you put in that effort to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to actually try to date this person as they are now? And I think if we talk about women in your age bracket and like perimenopause, menopausal women too, we become sexual little kittens, right? Like her. So,
Yes.
and then we get upset because they're not, but have we, and that's a whole other dynamic, but I'm thinking, if you are walking around in sweatpants and flip-flops and your yesterday's Coca-Cola t-shirt and you're horny, I'm sorry, he does not want to jump you, baby.
Yeah.
Like he might if he's, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like,
Put in
and
some,
especially you add in the nagging and the like
uh,
questioning. I'm a questioner, right? I question people out of into another fucking time zone, like into the next dimension.
you know what you could challenge, and I did this even with my kids, like, which is not romantic dating, but you could, even if it's like in a bad spot, you could like call full stop, not that it's going to fix everything, and say, okay, you know, we're going to switch into date mode for a little while. I'm going to take you on a date. Let's both dress exactly like, you could juice it up really good for a bit. Is I would so suggest that.
Well, I would too, but I do have a question though. I know we're going over here and I don't care.
I mean,
What because I want to ask you this. Do you think that it is possible to, once it's hit that point of like you're not dating anymore and it's become like boring and naggy and shit, do you think it's possible to even try and then get it back? Because I sometimes I don't think it is. Like sometimes I think two people pretending is almost like,
yeah,
you know,
I think we outgrow people too.
yeah, it's true. And I don't think, but there is, I don't think that a person shouldn't try. Like people shouldn't try in their relationship, especially if you really want to. I mean, if you're being told to, that's a whole different thing, right?
A whole different thing. And if this might be your real quick way to know about your relationship, if we say try and you're like, meh,
Yeah, then it's like you just got your answer. You know what? My friend who I was talking about doing the are you cool, Kimberly? And it's like, I'm not cool, Kimberly. I gotta get back to that. She would also say to me, like, you'd have a thing where you couldn't decide, right? And it's like, well, you have this option and this option. I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. She's like, okay, well, let's flip a coin on it. I was like, really? Okay. And she'd take a coin and she'd flip it and she'd put it down and feel like, okay, so which one do you which one do you want it to be? And I'm like, I don't know, heads. And she's like, well, then it doesn't matter what it is, does it? Right? It's kind of like that idea of what you just said, like,
or if you get heads and you're disappointed, well, there's your answer right there.
there's your answer. And it's like, you know, listening to this podcast, hey, put effort back in your relationship and date again. It's like, no, it's like, there's your answer.
And you know what I'd like to challenge before we quit too is it's okay to feel uncomfortable at the beginning, even if you're comfortable with that person, to if you're going to redate them, because you might have to start doing things like we've already had people tell us that they're wearing red lipstick, right? But they weren't
Yes.
comfortable, or I wasn't. So you might need to put yourself in a little bit of discomfort, not with the person you love, but with yourself. Even it's okay to stretch yourself a little bit.
It is, because you let yourself go. Some people have done it for like a year. Some people have done it for months. Some people have done it for like decades. It's like, it's going to feel a little weird because you've like now built new
Yeah.
ruts, you've built new patterns of behavior. So like stepping out of that's going to be a little weird.
If you want fire and passion and you want that feeling, if you are happy with your complacency, and I don't mean that meanly, like if you're happy with your best buddy and that's where you want to be, well, then don't listen to this podcast. But I have a feeling that's not how you started.
Yeah, I know. I know. Do you know what? Let's just keep going for a minute.
Let's keep going. This
You think,
will be semi mini pod.
yeah. You think that people when they get older, I mean, I hang out with people who are older than me, and you know, you have family and all my friends are older than me, so it's like,
So am I.
yeah. So it's like, do you feel that when people get older, they just almost, it's like easier not to almost?
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like, oh, you're tired, right? Like you're fucking tired. Your body is tired, your mind is tired, your emotions are just needing a break. They want to zone out. I think that that's a big thing too, is people are just like, it's not that they don't even love somebody anymore. It's just they're just fucking exhausted.
Yeah, and I guess if that's something you're not going to work through, you can have a roommate. But don't you think you could, even say you've hit menopause and you have no drive and you're not going to, you've tried a million things and there's no sex drive or whatever, and you figured that out, can you not still be essentially stimulated in your mind? Or like, is there not even if I'm not going for that and I dress up the way they, it shifts the energy. I don't care what you say if you can do that. I'm not saying at 85 you have to be banging one out every day. That's not what we're getting at. But
What?
I hope you are. I will be, I hope.
Yeah.
But can you, I don't know. Even if I was talking to me at 85 now doing this and you were with someone, it'd be like, have you found the puzzle that turns them on? I hate puzzles, so that probably won't work for me. But, I don't know. Did you wear their favorite cardigan? Like,
It's true.
are you engaging in things like, well, she should do what I like too? I get that, but you know, the more and more I'm listening to, men really like to tell stories. Did you know that about men? Women love to tell stories.
Do they ever?
We think that we're the talkers. I actually asked him, I'm like, who do you think likes to tell more stories? It's like, oh, hands down men. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
They really want to be heard. Did you know that about your man? Did you know he has a story to tell you? Are you just like, nah? Then you're like, he never talks.
Yeah.
I
That's interesting that you bring that up. Because you know, Dwayne and I talked about that, and it's like, he's a musician. A lot of my guy friends are musicians, and so it's like they all talk about their music stuff, their music stories, their equipment shit, you know, all of it, bands, news, all of it, and it's music stuff. And I think when you first start dating somebody like that, I mean, this is musicians, but everybody has their stuff, right? It's like you're intrigued by it. And even if you're not totally intrigued by it, you're still like, hey, this person's like sharing something they're juicy and passionate about. And it's like fresh. But after a little while, it's like you notice that tolerance for it goes away. And sometimes we even get a little vocal about it, right? And joke about it, like about how annoying it is or something, right?
The story 27 times.
Totally. And it's like that's a fucking turn off.
Oh.
I know I don't even like it when like somebody doesn't even ask me about my shit anymore, like what I'm up to, or like it's like they don't even have to say they're annoyed or make jokes about it. It's like not even engaging about it is not attractive to me.
It's not. But I think we could keep going, and then we probably shouldn't. But women have a lot, like I tell you a lot of stories. They have a lot more outlets usually than men, right? We're usually their closest confidant. And
Oh
we
yeah.
don't remember that.
Oh yeah.
Not that they aren't ours, but we usually have other outlets. And if you think about that, their stories are their essence. It's the book they're writing about who they are. And I've shared a chapter with you and my other friend, and they have not shared those chapters with too many people in depth, right?
Yes,
So
you're
even
right.
to us, if it's like, oh my God, this is like, how is this even depth? Could we talk about something deep? For them it is, right? And I don't think that you can't say, okay, let's switch the subject once in a while, but watch how you do it.
Yeah.
Date, we gracefully switch the topic, or we'll come back to something we want, or we'll listen and we'll be polite. I get if it's the 55th time, you're kind of done, but can you gracefully shift it or bring up the topic instead of, I don't want to hear that story anymore.
Yeah. Grace.
Yeah, no.
Grace is very, I think most men find a woman who operates with grace to be appealing. So
Hugely appealing.
So yeah, you know what? I love that you brought that up because you are so goddamn right. You're so right. Guys want to be listened to and engaged and truly listened to, like, you know.
Well, that took many turns, unlike all of our topics here at the Red Light.
It was a big one, and I'm sure we'll come back to this again. But I think Tony and I truly feel that, guys, girls, I know we're speaking mostly to women here, but I think we're speaking to the men too. It's like, remember who you were when you first started dating. You're not the same person anymore, but can you bring back that juicy excitement of getting together again?
And as a man, you could do it too. You could buy her a dress that you like. Don't start with leather and straps, okay? Unless you talked about that. But you could buy, I don't know, tell her there's a scent sheet. Start playing around with it gently, and I don't know, just don't stop dating. Honestly, it's so much fucking fun. Like, really.
Oh yeah, totally. And also for the men, showing effort, like you keep yourself maybe somewhat taken care of. I think that's if you even do that, women notice that shit, right? So yeah.
Here's a challenge for the men, and then I'll shine out. When we get bugged that women can never decide where they want to eat, here's a challenge for you. Why don't you just tell her where you're gonna go eat that week?
Fuck you guys. I tell Dwayne this all the time. I've always told people this. Just fucking pick a place and take me. So throw me over your fucking shoulder and drag me there.
You already know kind of what she likes to eat.
Yeah.
Just tell her this is where we're going.
That's right. And you know what? Unless you're dealing with a super bitch, it's probably going to be handled very nicely.
It's pretty juicy.
Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. Everybody, you know what? I know we're speaking for us, but I don't care. I think that there's something very attractive about a man who takes control. Yeah. Right. And that's if you want to date Tony or I.
Okay. We better stop because you got to go.
Yeah, I do.
Bye, guys.
Nice chatting.